guys, welcome back to part 2 of Brad and Cheese Twittercast. We're here with Matthew today, and we're going to talk a little bit about the KFC console. And I'm going to read off the stats of this thing first, because this thing doesn't sound real at all. It's supposed to be running games at 4K, 240 FPS, which is something I guess you don't find on the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. It's supposed to have an Intel 9 compute element, which houses the i9-9980HK processor, which, wow, that's like more powerful than my computer. I have an i7. There's a hot swappable GPU, meaning that you can upgrade your KFC down the road, unlike other consoles, but very like PCs. Storage is a pair of PCI NVMe Seagate Barracuda 1 terabyte SSDs, which is twice the storage you'll find on an Xbox Series X and nearly 3 times of that of a PS5. And it also comes with a chicken holding tray. So let's start talking about this thing. I don't think it's real. I think they're pulling our tail. What do you think?
So
Go ahead.
I think that sorry, Brad. I think that it is real. I think that it's a publicity stunt on the part of KFC and the GPU CPU manufacturer to bring some attention to maybe new cards. Do you guys remember like the Alienware it was a PC, but it was supposed to be like the console market corner that you could upgrade and change and modify and personalize yourself. So it was basically a PC with a console shell. I think that's what we're looking at here is
So
it's
it's
just
like a
another shell. Yeah, it's just another shell over a PC, but
chicken holder.
that's the part that really makes me think that it's all a publicity stunt.
So here's the funny thing. I read into the chicken chamber thing, or they specified it could be any kind of snacks and stuff. Obviously
Sure.
this being a KFC thing, and
It
apparently
runs
they're
off
bringing into
the
it.
heat of the
Yeah,
like it's like
exactly.
a cooling process.
See,
It's supposed to,
no. You know what? That's nonsense. Chicken is greasy as
It looks like
you
a
know,
bread
as hell.
tray. You know, like on your toaster.
if you're heating a piece of toast in your toaster, which if you're heating up a piece of toast, the moisture is literally leaving the toast to burn, or I'm sorry, the bread to create the burn in the toast, and you can physically watch the moisture vaporizing off of your bread to make toast. So all of that moisture is going to stay in the console. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, and it sounds like I don't even know if it's sanitary at all because they're taking the
Right.
cooling fans and they're blowing the hot air to cool the console into this so-called chicken chamber or snack warming, which is stuff that's apparently
Ugh.
to keep your food warm. Which is
Like, who wants
by the
to
way,
smell
terrible.
that?
I know it sounds terrible, and it's kind of funny because I'm reading all these articles like Forbes has reported on, and everyone's like, no, really, it's real, it's friggin' real, and I'm like, it can't be this.
So it's real to them because when they call KFC and they're like, what the hell is going on with this console? They produce an actual PC with this console shell and a stupid tray that I promise is just an addition to Forbes and to these big Fortune 500 reporting companies. Whereas I feel like it's all just publicity stunt. I really do. It's
probably it's a collector's item. Let's be honest with you. It's
What
a
it
collector's
sounds
item.
like, but those stats, the 1
yeah.
terabyte
How much did your
SSD,
PC cost?
like 1,400.
So this KFC console is theoretically going to cost $2,500.
Right. Like
in
'cause
theory,
I only have
there's
I have an
no
i7,
way.
and
Yeah.
like this was like 3 years ago, and like i9s were just becoming a thing. So
Yeah.
like
All right.
And it's not even just an i9. It's a hyper advanced current model of an i9.
it's gonna be a collector's item, like you said. I
Yeah.
agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and the reality is it's not going to be affordable to most people. It's going to be for hardcore KFC fans or hardcore gamers that are also fans
I
of
mean,
just
KFC did come up with a Christmas romance drama, I guess. It was
the
like,
KFC murder
Yeah.
mystery on Lifetime.
yeah,
I
that's what
remember.
it was. Yeah.
And they
Maybe
also have
KFC is just
game-
like,
they came out with the KFC dating
look,
sim too.
chicken is dying and people don't want to eat greasy food anymore. So we're going to start diversifying our portfolio. I don't know. I really don't know what the idea is here. I know fast food is tanking as an industry in the United States. So maybe it's just a publicity stunt to bring more attention to KFC.
Right.
Or maybe it really is KFC diversifying their portfolio as a company.
I just
But
think fast
it
food.
feels really fake to me.
It is
Yeah, so
really
let me
fake.
pull out this option.
Yeah.
So what if it's, and like I said, what if it's not a real console? So the specs are all fake, right? So let's
Mhm.
just say the specs and everything are fake, but it's a giant bucket of chicken shaped thing.
What if it's
but
an
like one of
easy
those,
bake
cooler or
oven?
food warmers, like in general, just a food warmer storage. There's no console or anything. It's just something you
Right.
plug in to
'Cause
keep your
that-
food warm, shaped like a bucket of chicken.
That's
Yep.
what it reminds me of, is an easy baked like oven.
Yeah. And
That's what it
way
looks
that they
like.
word it, the way that they word it on their console, like we're coming for the Xbox Series X and the PS5, it just feels so fake. And then if you scroll through the website, it seriously looks like one of those websites that scammers set up to bait older people into visiting to put their credit card information and stuff on it. It looks so inauthentic and like it looks like the most basic graphic design
Right.
anyone has ever come up with for a website. And this is supposed to be
And
to
this
introduce
came
a
out, like,
new console.
The week before, or no, the week of Christmas. It was like,
Right.
so like, I don't know why.
I don't know.
So I
Now
think
apparently
people
they
will have
moved
it.
out to later this year or something like that, sometime in the spring. But
Yeah.
and yeah, it is funny. Now, would you give them props at least for their marketing, just to come up with something silly and fun for people to?
I agree. I think that was great,
on a
especially
podcast
with
about?
I mean,
all the tension
it-
going on right now, and especially
Yeah.
in the United States, like with all the attention going on here, it's, I think, really nice to have fun news like that every once in a while. Like, oh, KFC's
Yeah.
releasing like, oh, they're doing a murder mystery. Oh, like they're doing a really good job, just like distracting
and
us from
yeah.
like the
And to be fair, our generation, well, I mean, I'm obviously one slight, tiny generation older than you guys, but your generation, my generation below, let's say that. Anybody from my generation or younger,
Gen-
studies have proven that
millennials.
we don't pay attention, millennials and below, don't pay attention to advertisements. They don't trigger us the way that they triggered people back in the day. So advertising has progressively through my lifetime gotten from going, like a one-shot commercial to having 70 shots in a commercial that rapid fire in front of your eyes to try to keep me interested. Because even with YouTube videos, my generation forward will only be interested in about the first 2 minutes. If you haven't collected my attention in 2 minutes, I'm moving on to another video, or I'm skipping to the part you know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
Or
I
I'm
do.
skipping to
Like,
the part that I clicked the video for. So I think that
They have
I
3
appreciate.
seconds to impress me.
Yes, I think that's what KFC's doing. They're realizing, guys, our commercial budget, our budget for advertising is still $500 million a year, and we are not selling
Their
chicken
chicken
anymore.
is gross.
It's not doing anything for us, so let's get creative. And you see it a lot, like Kojima with Metal Gear Solid 5. He got super creative about the way he was advertising, like brought some actor wrapped up in bandages and totally sold us that it was this fake game that he was making. I feel like KFC is the same thing. KFC as a company is being intelligent in the way they approach advertising, because advertising no longer works in a conventional sense.
It makes
So
sense.
they're like, man, those millennials love consoles. Let's make a fake piece of tech that will garner broth
yeah.
in the community, because look, we're talking about it, so it worked. The advertising worked because we're sitting here being like, man, is this real? Are we getting played? And that's exactly what they wanted. So who knows?
We'll close out the KFC conversation with just one last thing. So if it was, let's say it's just and I think Bud Light's even doing something similar. They have something that looks like a console, but just a beer cooler.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So if this thing is just a novelty collector's item and it's like $20-$30 just as a little food warmer, would you buy it as a gaming collector's item to put on a shelf or as a gimmicky thing to be like, hey, look at this?
Yes. 'Cause
I
I'm
would
weird.
not.
I'm weird like that. And
I'm such a weirdo and I collect all that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I didn't
like
mean to.
no, I'm interrupting you.
No, you're not. Not at all.
No, I was gonna say, like, I mean, I don't collect things, and so, like, I mean, it would be just really funny to just say, hey, I bought this thing, and, like, I bet you it would, like, break within, like, a week.
Yeah.
But it would just be just a funny thing to say, hey.
You don't even have to open it. Just keep it in the box. And
Yeah,
be like,
just like, troll the internet with, like, that's,
Sure.
yeah.
As a gaming collector, I would say that I wouldn't. As a collector of things that are gaming, I probably would not buy that because it doesn't really have anything to do with gaming ultimately. If it's just a chicken warmer or whatever, a food snack warmer, but I do see the appeal in collecting it as just a collector's item. I just don't know how much it's really going to appeal to gamers.
Yeah,
I don't really
get
think
it.
You know,
I don't
even
it's
though they're
marketed.
marketing at us, at our generation, at the people that enjoy these niche, crazy collecting things,
Yeah, it's
even the ones that really ended up being consoles, and those didn't even do well, like Ouya and the Alienware consoles and stuff. It's just
Trilogy.
that market has been really, really cornered at this point.
I forgot about Alienware.
Oh,
Sorry.
don't forget about.
Yeah, that's what I
And
mean.
let's look at what's really here. The Stadia too. That's become a
The
modern
Stadia.
dead on
Exactly.
arrival.
Oh my god, that poor thing.
I know.
Google is one of those companies that throws everything at the wall, and whatever sticks. They have the money to do it. So I don't feel bad that their Stadia collapsed, especially with the way they marketed it and it being really thoroughly unimpressive
Well, let's
ultimately.
be honest too. They're not going to lose hardly any money off of it because
Cyberpunk runs
No,
on
they won't lose
Stadia.
anything.
Like hardcore Stadia fans, like the day that Cyberpunk 27 something coming out, they're like, it doesn't crash on here. You guys should play it on here. Like that's all I
For
saw.
the people that love it, I am all for it.
Right.
I absolutely have no problem with like Game Pass and Stadia and all that streaming. I get the appeal of it, especially if, let's say, Google put their actual weight behind Stadia and made because they could make something 3 times more powerful than any console on the market right now and still sell it for the same price and be fine. What they should have done is make the power on the server untouchable to Xbox Series X and PS5 instead of making it relatively similar. They could have spent, I mean, nobody's buying a Stadia. People are buying a streaming dock. So the Stadia itself is some server farm wherever Google has it. And
Like,
there is no
Raspberry
reason for it
Pi
not to
is
be
more successful than Stadia, and like
there's no reason for it not to be like unbelievably impressive stats, and I think that's what killed it.
yeah.
Why? If my PC or my phone doesn't matter as long as it can stream, 5G or Wi-Fi, then the power doesn't matter. Then there's no reason to limit the power on your end, and they did, and that's what killed it.
I agree.
I'll put it this way: the Stadia is so bad. The picture I posted on Twitter last night saying that Jin's ass was better than Captain America's ass has gotten more transaction and more popularity than the Stadia will ever see.
Listen here.
I know.
I don't know if I can agree with you on that one.
Whoa!
I'm a
We're having
hardcore
a
Marvel
conversation.
fangirl, and like I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
Well, you saw my post saying I'm looking at both disrespectfully because there's really nothing better than an ass.
right, exactly.
You can play with a PS5 till it dies. Well, I guess that's the same for an ass.
Dude, I was playing it on Twitch. I was playing Ghost on Twitch. I'm like instantly like switch screens. I'm like, this is against TOS. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Like I'm like freaking out when Jin's ass appears right in front of my face. So
Yeah.
it was a piece of ecstasy, and we'll say, and when we do an episode on Ghost of Tsushima, we will have a in-depth moment of talking.
no.
just about Jin
It's
ass,
like
so.
you was smelling new
Definitely.
games. Well, it's just a meme at this point.
It is,
Yeah.
it is.
They knew that. They knew that would happen.
They did. They're smart.
Sucker punch you with Jin's ass.
It was intentional, and it worked.
Yes.
That's called
Yes.
good marketing.
Yeah.
So the 2121 gaming or 2020, wow, we're already 100 years in the future. 2021 gaming outlook. I don't know. For like all the consoles, there's some games here and there that I'm really excited for, but I'm not as excited for any games as I am the Mass Effect Trilogy remaster. As a fangirl, there's not much otherwise.
I mean, Mass Effect is fantastic.
Yes, and like I don't find more I'm not really excited because everything, like, I don't want to get my hopes up for any games coming out this year because of COVID and because of the pandemic, like
Sure.
staying at home, and everyone is like struggling and they have to like there's either crunch time and stuff like that. So it's like a big struggle to look at this outlook and be like, oh wow, this game's gonna come out this year finally. And like Final Fantasy VII remake part 2, like everyone's hoping it comes out this year. I don't think it will personally.
No way.
I don't think it will.
They haven't
I'm like,
started putting it together.
If Final Fantasy 16 were to come out this year, I will personally streak around my entire neighborhood naked because that is.
I
I
have
don't even think they're gonna even.
immense faith that it will come out this year.
No, it's
I don't
not.
know why. I just really feel like
They've been talking about 16 potentially coming out this year because they've been working on it for 3 years already.
yeah.
But 3 years in Square Enix development time is like half the game.
But,
Yeah.
but to be fair, the games like Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3 started out on an engine that was brand new, and it took them 3 years of development just to get the engine running on PS3 and Xbox 360. So the development environment has changed drastically since those games started development literally 10 years ago. Well, 11 now. I think that with most developers saying that they're having games graphically up and running on PS5 and Xbox Series X within 2 months of sitting down at a table with ideas. I think that we're going to see a lot more games coming out a lot faster this generation than ever before, besides the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic.
And that's the thing too. And I know this isn't really on our thing, but I did really want to touch on Cyberpunk because I felt really bad for those developers that had to go through all that crunch time, and then they had to work through the holidays on top of it, and they had to go through all of that just to come out with it like almost incomplete game. But everyone's enjoying it, which I'm really glad about. But I feel really bad that the developers got the shit end of the stick of that.
Yeah.
Because of their company screwing them over.
There is some personal responsibilities, not on the personal developers being attacked. Obviously, nobody should ever be attacked over a freaking piece of art like this.
You remember The Last of Us 2 and the voice actresses got fucking attacked?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like so bad that they deleted their accounts.
Yeah, like it's
so I think that there's this insanity to this kind of thing going on right now. That probably will not see an end, considering that we all have such a soapbox these days, and it's so easy for me to I'm friends with the original voice actress of Lara Croft. I can literally talk to Shelley Blonde at any time about anything. So I think that accessibility is dangerous for people that are crazy.
Yeah,
the people that would be like, my game wasn't complete, I hate, or there's a lesbian or a transgender or whatever, Joel got killed, I'm so angry.
Spoiler alert.
They have a voice to
I've
go
not played The Last
straight.
of Us, so it's
Oh
okay.
my god, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I've been through worse. Final Fantasy VII Remake got spoiled for me too. So
I'm so sorry.
No, don't worry about it. I had plans.
I swear.
It was in my
I
backlog.
missed that.
It's okay. It's okay. Dude, I played...
You're banned from the podcast now.
So I played Final Fantasy X knowing what happened at the end still. Like I played most
that was a crusher.
Yeah, I still cry about it. I know Brad just started playing that he just beat it the first time last year.
Wait, we were talking about 10?
10, yeah.
10, yeah.
Oh god, that was...
I'm about to do the No Sphere Grid challenge.
No. I was let me see, how old was I then? 18 years old when Final Fantasy X came out.
Oh my god.
And it came out, and I played it, and when I beat it, I seriously I was like streams running down my face.
Yeah, I cried.
And I got up, and I tried to exit my room, and I just kind of fell against the door frame and cried, like I was openly sobbing. And my brother said, "Did you just beat Final Fantasy or something?" Yes, I did.
It's so
he knew exactly why.
But
yeah, that game will, and we have a whole episode we'll be re-recording about that. But yeah, that game will break you emotionally.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And the plot twists are so good. Like I wish there was
so
more
good.
Really well-written games like that with so many plot twists. Like I love plot twists, and I'm like, oh, that happened. Oh, that stabbed me.
I miss Hironobu Sakaguchi's writing so bad.
I do
too. It was so off the wall and crazy, but man, I miss his stories.
I do too. And everyone's like, "Oh, you're such a Sakaguchi fangirl. You don't like Nomura at all." And I'm like, "Dude, no. I just stuck in the '90s, okay, early 2000s.
No.
That's my problem."
I love Nomura. He's
genius,
fantastic.
okay? And everybody
He's one of my
needs to
favorites. Exactly.
I like his character design. I don't know much about his producing. I like his character design for sure.
Yeah,
belts
definitely.
on belts on belts on belts on belts.
And
right,
zippers
so we're gonna reel it back
and
in.
plaid.
We're gonna reel it back into
yeah, let's do it.
Sorry, I apologize.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine.
But anyway, going back into
So yeah, obviously, hopefully, with Matt saying that games could potentially come out faster, yeah, we will see the end of the endless Square Enix development cycle.
But
Hopefully.
COVID.
I'd also like to see
I
Valve
think.
count to 3, but that's asking too much.
Oh, me too. God, I think that Square wants to step away from that. They seriously have this reputation of long-term game development. Obviously, because we've been talking about it, it's very widespread, and I think they want to. I think they want to get away from that.
Also, another
I
thing
do.
is too is that Square Enix like fanboys and fangirls, we're extremely spoiled. Like, as
Yeah.
because they give us what we want. They listen to us and they
Yeah.
give us what we want. Versus a lot of other
Absolutely.
companies, so we can't really dog on them too much.
No. I love them. Look, they have very good writers, and they've made a lot of very very good games. And I hope that they can appreciate a little bit of banter here and there, because we
Right.
love them very much. But nobody's
We're meaning the fact it took like
room for
15 years
criticism
for
or-
Kingdom Hearts 3 to come out.
yeah,
Right.
we'll save that for another time.
Right.
But
Yeah.
anyway, I know there's a lot of good games coming out this year, so we have a few that I know are confirmed. Super Mario 3D World is getting ported to the Switch with an extra Bowser's Fury add-on coming in. That's confirmed for February. It had
hmm
that. I guess Nintendo will probably have a presentation on that soon to explain what exactly Bowser's Fury is. That'll be something very intriguing. Bravely Default 2, which was a series born that was a canceled Final Fantasy game turned into an original IP, is coming out. I know a lot of
Yes.
people will be excited on that. That one's got a very unique.
I'm actually
combat.
gonna give away that game next month.
I might have to jump in on that
Yeah.
one.
Oh, cool.
So I'm a really I played the first one a little. I don't have a 3DS anymore. I have to finish it on the 3DS, but I played the first one, and that battle system is up my alley. It's turn based. It's like it's everything
perfect.
that Final Fantasy
Okay.
is.
So I haven't played it, so I'm gonna have to get it.
Yes, it's like a
Yeah,
Final
no,
Fantasy
it's
game. It's
definitely-
really good. I promise.
That it's kind of like what's neat about the combat system, and I'll touch on this since it's coming out. It's like you have these you can stack your attacks,
Mhm.
and at the cost of delayed turns ever. So it's like you have to plan out your attacks, and they have the job class system too, which is neat. So
Yeah.
you can
Cool.
class your characters out, and they actually wear the outfits related to their class every time you
Like
update.
tactics.
It's really cool.
Like
Yeah,
Final
it's got a little
Fantasy
bit
Tactics.
of yeah.
That's
Okay, so this is blasphemous, but I do not like strategy RPGs.
That's okay.
So
a
will
lot
I
of
like
people
Bravely
don't.
This is
Default?
not a strategy game. This is
It's not. It's a turn-based game.
RPG, random
Okay,
encounters,
cool.
all those sorts.
It's a turn-based. It's
Cool.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm just now starting Octopath, so that's
Yeah,
I
think
haven't
about it.
played
Yeah,
that
it's,
either.
yeah, I guess you could see it's like I said, it's got a job class system.
Mhm.
So like I said, you're assigning your characters different ones, so you can swap between them, and there's
Yep.
hidden jobs that you would unlock through different side quests aside from the main ones you pick up. So you have your
Yeah.
black mages, your white mages, and your warriors.
So I'm really excited about Bravery. I take my thing back. I'm really excited about Bravery Default 2.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I'm like,
Yeah, no, that one will be good. I need to go back and finish them on my 3DS.
I need to finish both of
So
the previous
speaking
ones.
personally, I feel like even with the pandemic, the promise of 2021 is as captivating, if not more captivating,
They're talking.
than any previous gaming year in my life.
So they're also talking about Metroid 4. They're talking about that potentially being a fall 2021 release.
I am
Mhm.
not betting my money on anything Metroid. My guess is
They're
still
talking about
2022.
two separate Metroid IPs though.
Oh, two separate. Okay, Metroid Prime 4 I don't think is coming out till 2022 because they scrapped the entire.
They had to
Yeah,
restart
that's what I was told. Yeah, but they're talking about potentially two different Metroid IPs. So I heard a rumor. I don't know if it's true, so don't confirm me on that. Don't be like, she
No,
told
as
me
a-
then. Yeah.
No, it's
As a
fine.
12,000-year-old gamer, I will just. I haven't played Prime. I really hope. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. I haven't finished Prime, any of them, because I could not get on board with the change to first person.
Oh yeah.
From
I'm a
the
bad-
side scrolling that I loved from Metroid. I loved Metroidvania, which does not translate into 3D design very well because everything is Metroidvania in 3D design. Everything is get a key to get into this, to get the double jump to be able to jump up there. You know what I mean? Like Tomb Raider these days is a Metroidvania style game. So Prime never really spoke to me back then, and I think that as a person with more diverse taste nowadays and more accepting of change and difference, I would probably appreciate it, but I don't have a GameCube because my brother's girlfriend kicked it out the window during one of their they got in a fight, and he was playing Madden, so she ripped it out of the TV and threw it out the window. So
he deserves it. He was playing Madden.
I know. So I never got to play Prime. So I really, really, really hope they release a HD or whatever they want to call it, a trilogy remaster, whatever they want to call it, a re-release.
I really hope they do too. Like,
I want them to too. I know Nintendo.
I just got into Metrovanias, so like last year with Bloodstained.
Oh.
So it's.
Oh yeah, Bloodstained's good.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and I hope they do release the trilogy. I know Nintendo's kind of notoriously stingy about it. Releasing remastered trilogy. I mean, my God, we got a half-assed Super Mario 3D trilogy last year.
Yeah.
Really, it was a texture update and nothing else. Which
for half of it even.
Right.
And it was that was disappointing in regards of I could get into Nintendo's business stinginess, but that's gonna take up
we
a
all
whole
could, yes.
episode,
we
so
all could. You see me complain about it plenty.
I think we all do. Even if you're a Nintendo fan, you still hate their business practices.
I am a Nintendo fan. I have every single console they've ever made, but I do get very frustrated with them.
Any other games that are coming out though, we got some good ones from Sony. We've got Ratchet and Clank is coming out with their new title that looks really good. The Rift Apart.
I'm excited.
That'll be big, and with Ratchet probably being the only outside of Sackboy now being the only Sony mascot that actually gets something going.
Yeah. And Astrobot.
Astrobot too. Yeah, Astrobot's kind of becoming his own little one.
He's kind of.
I hate to make spirit, but he's kind of like Sony's like version of a minion, but cuter.
Yeah, totally, exactly.
Now, what's the other one coming out, Matt? I can't remember what you told you mentioned.
Returnal,
yes,
from Housemarque.
Yes, and I know we saw some trailers for that right before the launch. So, what do you think What do you think about that? What's going in?
I'm really excited because I can't think of a time that Housemarque has failed. Every single one of their games, no matter how drastically different from the previous one, has, in my opinion, delivered thoroughly, especially for the prices that you pay on their games. They are a really, really impressive development studio, and they have a ton of talent. The fact that they're going fully 3D with a shooter is a bit concerning to me, but like I said, they've never really faltered in development, and you can see a lot of their design, like what's in their blood in Returnal's gameplay. It looks like almost like Nier Automata in terms of like the bullet hell non-stop attack coming at you. So it'll be interesting to see how much of a departure this is from their previous games like Resogun and Alienation, where you're like this top-down twin stick gameplay for the most part. It almost looks like they're trying to translate that to a fully 3D environment. So I'm pretty excited about it. It looks good.
All right. Well, yeah, that'll be. I think that could be a sleeper hit right there. So yeah, that's something definitely gamers should keep an eye on. Another big event that is going to be going on in 2021 that I think a lot of people will be excited for is it is the Legend of Zelda's 35th anniversary.
Yes.
And that is a big deal for a lot. Zelda is very dear to me as well. I'm a big Zelda fan. Zelda and Tomb Raider are my top two. If there's anything I'm overly obsessed with and will gush over any day, is Zelda and Tomb Raider. And with that, obviously, we're probably going to see Breath of the Wild 2 finally. I know that's been in development for a while. I think they will be announcing that release date probably this summer. I think it'll be around the E3 Directs that we finally get some Breath of the Wild information. I think we're going to see that around November.
Yeah.
And now
Nintendo has been playing a lot like Sony did with the PS5 launch. They're kind of at this point in their existence as a company and as a brand that people know and recognize, that they're kind of like, I don't really care what's going on with all the rest of our, would we even call them competitors at this point? They all are doing their own things, really. Right. And they're just kind of like, we'll give you information when we feel like it. Yeah. It doesn't, I don't care if there's like these consoles coming out or, Sony's like dropping 10 new indie game. They'll just come out with a Nintendo Direct whenever they feel they want to. And I feel like
the Smash community with that, like how the Smash community is like always guessing who the next character is going to be coming out. Yeah, like,
which is fine if the other end of it didn't exist.
Yeah, it's true.
Like they announced Minecraft Steve, and Sakurai literally got letters at his home saying that people are going to come kill his family. Like, shut up.
It's so terrible. Insane. How their culture is.
And seriously, Smash community, take a step back and look at what you fucking got already. You got the biggest crossover event in a fighting game with the best-selling fighting game of all time ever. So you should really be thankful for what you've already gotten. Like, look at what we got for PlayStation. We got Astrobot, which is great, but it's not the love letter to it. It was a love letter, but it's not a love letter to all the characters and the entire bolstered history of video gaming like Smash is.
No, it is Smash Brothers, Super Smash Brothers, and one of the things I'm calling for in 2021 is unity. I want to see everybody more or less try to come together more and be less divided. Understand that we should be happy for what we have and just appreciate it more.
You and I were talking about that last week.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, we were, and it's okay to criticize things. It's okay not to like something. It's okay to have a criticism of something.
But to obsessively just talk about the things that you dislike and obsessively try to argue with everybody on the internet. Oh, Sony sucks. Oh, Xbox sucks. Who cares? Just talk about the things that you enjoy.
Yes, exactly. Just don't be a dick. It's the number one rule. Don't be a dick.
And I love that idea, Brad, but I will say that, like, I didn't realize that fanboyism and consoleism existed as a child. Besides the little stabs that Nintendo and Sega did on their commercials, until I was at the arcade one day. Nintendo used to release a lot of their games for arcade before they came out on their consoles, simply because consoles were not capable of running these games yet. I remember Killer Instinct coming out, the original one, when it was a Nintendo franchise. And it came out in arcade, and I went to the arcade, and all I had was a Sega Genesis. I'm this kid I was probably 10, maybe 10, when Killer Instinct came out. And I was at the arcade, back when arcades existed, and these kids are playing this Killer Instinct game, and they're loving it, and they're talking about all the combos, and I was really into Mortal Kombat at the time. So I'm thinking, like, cool, like, you know, Mortal Kombat was up and coming. These were two competing fighting games, so I'm like really into the idea of Killer Instinct also. And I was like, wow, is this going to come out for Sega? And I'm just this innocent kid, and I only have a Sega because that's what my parents bought me, and I don't have any money to buy anything. And they were like, this will never, and they just like tore me apart. And I didn't understand what was happening because I didn't know people were so freakishly crazy about consoles.
Yeah,
you know, like, no, this will never come out. Sega could never. This has this and blah blah blah, and the Genesis can't run it. And I'm like, what do you mean? I played Sonic on it. Like, what are you talking about? I didn't get it, and so it's always been there. And I love the idea of more unity, but with the invention of the internet and our soapboxes, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
No, it's not. It's a pipe dream, but I'm hoping
it is
at least
a beautiful gaming utopia.
At least a part of like our little corner of the community. I'm hoping to see a lot less. Oh, I hate this game. Oh, I hate this series. Oh, just for like, I know people do it for clout, and that's okay and all, but like, just talk about more of the things you love. That's what I want to challenge the community to do. So just talk more. I
agree with that. Love. Absolutely. But I also want to say that I love going into, like, the Tomb Raider community is poison, you guys.
Is it?
It is poison. It's so bad. I love to go in because I'm obviously part of the Tomb Raider community, and I'm friends with all of the Tomb Raider community, and we talk and we're friends. But I love to, like, jab at, because I don't personally love the reboot series the way that I love the older ones. They're great games. There's nothing technically wrong with the games.
It's not Tomb Raider.
But they aren't what I want from Tomb Raider personally. And so I love to go in and be like, yeah, but blah, 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 and compare it to Uncharted just for the fun of the discourse.
I hate when it gets real. Debate the comparison of games. What isn't okay is to just rag on a person for their taste.
Right.
And that's an issue with my community as well.
I agree, yes.
And the Final Fantasy fandom is so bad. And that's
I'm there too.
I'm trying really hard to, like, preach, like, hey, instead of saying, oh, you're a terrible person for not liking Final Fantasy VII, which I'm trying to like it. I really am. So that's my goal. Is to just
wait. The remake or the original?
Original. And I'm trying really hard because I haven't beaten it completely yet. I got to disc 3 and just gave up because I was getting bored.
Oh my god, I'm not shaking or red on this end of my microphone.
No, it's
all.
Okay. I'm going to learn to like it eventually. I cosplay Aerith, so obviously I like it to some degree. But
yeah.
The thing is, we just need to have a little bit like less, hey, I hate this game, you're a terrible person for hating this game, and just instead debate why you didn't like that game to the other games.
It's about discourse, yes. So it's about having a civil discourse about two people that have two different sides and just explaining why they like or don't like it. They don't have to hate the other person for it or insult
Right.
each other over it. They just have to discuss, hey, I didn't get the same experience from you. Like Matt and I had a conversation about The Last of Us last night. I didn't get the same feeling. And
I saw his tweet about someone saying like, "Oh, only like people and LGBT people liking it," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
My ex-husband, who's like the straightest conservative Christian, loves The Last of Us. So
Yeah,
and
definitely.
anyway, it was so we had this. Matt and I had a little bit of a discourse there, just a conversation about it. But we talked about it, and I explained that. Well, I acknowledge that The Last of Us is a very well-made game, and I understand why a lot of people like it. But I didn't get the same feelings that those people did. But that didn't make the game a bad game. And that
Right.
while I don't personally enjoy it, and I explained why I didn't get the enjoyment out of it, and why I didn't go on to buy the sequel because I didn't enjoy the first one, it doesn't make me a bad person or Matt a bad person for liking it. We can have a conversation and just explain the differences.
And it does state something about when you have public discourse over, let's say, a game, which is an ultimately inconsequential discussion point anyway.
Right.
Yes.
But we're having this discussion because it is a piece of art, and that's what art does. People talk about art and always have. So we have this piece of art that we disagree on. It is a huge statement about how our community generally operates when after a discussion that remains civil and thorough and despite us never coming to an agreement on our opinions stay civil. At the end of that, people are like, wow, you guys are so civil and you stay so civil. That is really a statement on how uncivil.
It also brings people together too when you're civil.
Yes.
It brings a lot of people together. Like
it
the
totally
more
does.
that you're civil about a difference about a game is, to me, like or even like parts about a game. Like we can be looking at the same game from two different perspectives and have two totally different views on it. But if at the end of the day, if we can just be nice to each other and not call each other names and not tell each other like, "Oh, you're a piece of shit" for whatever.
Right. And if we could just get it out of our head that, let's say you're not enjoying Final Fantasy VII right now.
Right.
It's my favorite game of all time. You not enjoying it doesn't in any way take away from my enjoyment. And that doesn't matter.
Honestly,
so I don't understand
that. So toxic about that because my favorite's 9. My favorite Final Fantasy is 9.
Sure. And it's very, very good.
Right. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's such a bad game," and like, "Oh," and I used to get so angry, and then I looked back, and I'm like, you know what? It's not even worth it. I rather make more friends talking about the things I love than being all in the negative parts about it. And there's been so many fights, at least this past month alone, that I've seen on Twitter where people are trying to cancel each other over opinions, and that's what we need to stop doing.
Exactly. My favorite statement right now is, "Oh, I'm sorry it wasn't for you."
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I can't explain to you why your brain didn't click with this piece of art compared to, like, the way that it moved me and spoke to me in an like God of War. I'm not going to dog on God of War 2018. I absolutely love that game. It's a 10 out of 10. It's basically perfect, but the story didn't capture me the way that it captured everybody
and
else.
it's all
had a
from
very
experience
conversation
too.
about that last night too. We both had.
I didn't shed a tear during the entire game, and everybody being on Twitter being like, "Man, I was bawling my eyes out during these 2 moments." I just kept waiting for these moments to happen, and it kind of ruined my experience. So I think it's important for us to understand that we all have our own opinions, and maybe, I don't know, not put so much weight on other people's. Like, why does it really matter to me? Brad loved God of War 2018 with all of his heart, and I did too, obviously. I absolutely love it. But what he felt, perhaps because he's a father and I'm not, with the story doesn't in any way mean that the game was bad or that my opinion or his opinion is wrong. I just don't understand why people, especially when it comes to consoles are the worst thing
there was a
to
big
discuss
fight about
with anyone.
retro consoles a couple weeks ago between two people.
Yeah,
we're not going to talk
it's
about
so
that. But
we're
stupid.
gonna leave that
it's
alone.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous though on why people like compare. Like it's based on what we had, what we were able to afford growing up.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
And I am a PlayStation fanboy, and I will defend it vehemently, and I love Sony, and I buy Sony TVs and Sony. That doesn't mean that because my best friend likes Xbox that my love for Sony is diminished, or that I'm wrong, or that he's wrong.
I'm still waiting for
He
Matt and
can
Tayo to
still
form
be
a
right.
love marriage for each other on Twitter and become the Sony power.
Well, I already said yes. I'm just waiting on their end.
Oh my goodness. No, I'm really excited though that there's at least a couple of people who are like more predominant in the community that can come forward and try to be a good example for the rest of it. I know, like,
I agree.
And I know there's a lot of like people going through a lot right now with like mental health and COVID, like everything like that. So I try to give a lot more like lax about like, oh, this person's probably just having a bad day. You know, that could be it too. That could be a lot of and Twitter is sometimes an outlet for people. Like I don't have real life friends where I live. Like Twitter is like my outlet.
I don't either right now, especially right now.
Yeah.
Twitter is like my life right now.
Yeah. So we go to there to try to get consoled and reassured because that's where our friends are. So I think that too plays a lot of part in how aggressive people can be during these console wars or these game discussions and stuff like that.
Oh no, I totally
agree. It's a passion of love for something, but it makes no sense to have such passion for hate.
No.
Titties.
Like just because I love PlayStation doesn't mean that I have to hate Xbox and Nintendo.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That this idea.
I don't think I hate a single console I've ever touched.
All three of them are good, and all three of them have their flaws because nobody is perfect. Right. Yes, we all have. I love all three, but I have my nitpicks with all three.
Right.
Of course.
It's like games in any like series, like the Tales of series. Like, oh, I like this game, but this game is better because of it. I'm like, it's like that too. You know, like we just gotta like.
That's I think that's something that goes. It's kind of ingrained in us that we have a finite amount of love. I know that sounds stupid,
and passion.
But it's like, yeah, and it's not like just because I like Final Fantasy VII more than 9 does not mean that I don't love 9.
And
9 is one of the most beloved games I've ever played in my life.
And I'm not saying like it's the worst game. I'm just saying like I don't rank it in my top 5. You know.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
And that's fine. Everybody has a different opinion. That's why we're supposed to respect those. And let's go ahead, and since we're talking about, we're going to go back to the hype now. Let's steer it. We're going to steer it back into.
Yes.
Sorry, I know we wanted to talk a little bit about this too. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
There's nothing wrong with it. This is a great discussion to have too. We had, this was a more open-ended episode, but yeah, I know we're gonna run out of time.
So, are you ready to hear my most anticipated title of all the games that is supposed to come out this year? Is Gran Turismo 7.
Gran Turismo 7.
Of course.
There, Ratchet and Clank coming out, Horizon coming out, God of War possibly coming out, Final Fantasy possibly coming out, and I want Gran Turismo 7 more than anything on this earth. I don't know why.
You're a racing game fan, I know.
I know, but Final Fantasy is way more important to me than Gran Turismo, and I just want Gran Turismo 7 so bad. It's that damn controller.
Oh yeah,
I'm not buying a PS5 until Final Fantasy 16 comes out, so I mean,
you're gonna see at the store the day that
I'm gonna like raid. Yeah, I'm gonna like grab like a sword and a shield and just beat. Yeah, like no one's getting that game. Like I'm gonna be the first person in line to get that game because I've been waiting for like 10 years for another high fantasy Final Fantasy to come out.
Me too.
12 being the like 12 was like Star Wars. But like
12 was Star Wars.
12 was Star Wars. I'm playing it through it now for the first time, and I love it. But it is Star Wars. But like 9 was really the last high fantasy Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it was.
And that's why I loved 9 so much, because I love high fantasy games. So I'm like, with 16 being high fantasy with like swords and like guys and like
magic.
I'm like so excited.
Freaking magic.
The day that I saw the trailer, I posted a reaction. I'm like, it is high fantasy. I don't even care if it's not turn-based. I wanted a high fantasy Final Fantasy so bad.
Yep.
And there's rumors too that I guess the producers learned a lot from Ghost of Tsushima. So I'm hoping that they incorporate some of that style into it, because I really liked Ghost's battle style.
Oh, Ghost combat system, by the way, is fantastic.
Fantastic. And I get the, and you guys know how I feel about Assassin's Creed. I get the comparison from Ghost of Tsushima to Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed is not the systems in it are good. If the developer would put the time and money behind them, then we could get a product like Ghost of Tsushima out of Assassin's Creed, in my opinion. I get the comparisons, but Assassin's Creed is a yearly pump out, every couple year pump out from Ubisoft, whereas Ghost of Tsushima was a 7-year long labor of love from a development company that has never made a game like this. And it shows. And it's not that I don't like Assassin's Creed or that I think Ubisoft can't make a game. It's just I wish they would put some time into it.
I agree.
Valhalla was an enjoyable game until I was falling through the ground.
Mine would probably be really off. So I'm really excited for Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah,
Breath of the Wild, the first one, I remember I pre-ordered a Switch specifically for that game. I watched that Nintendo Direct, and as soon as it went online, I pre-ordered like the bundle with Breath of the Wild. Like I had the neon red and blue Switch. Like I was on it. That was my first ever console pre-order. I didn't even have a job. I was still living at home, but I took the money out of my tax return at the time, and I was just like, I don't even care that I'm unemployed. Like I'm buying this fucking console, and I'm playing Breath of the Wild, and I did. I ordered it online. I got it, and that was before Animal Crossing. That was the only game I put over 100 hours in. And over the course of 3 years, I was obsessed with it. I played it on the TV like all day. I was all day. It went to if I was getting tired, I would just take the Switch off the dock from the game room. I would go back to my bedroom and I would play it in bed on my handheld until I decided I was going to sleep. I was obsessed with it. I went around. I got everything. Like I loved the world. The world was just so breathtaking to me. I loved exploring it, going up in the towers and everything. And while I don't think it's the best Zelda game, I rank it third on my current list of Zelda games that I complete, behind Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Nintendo did a really good job, but despite it having the weakest dungeons in the system, it made up for it with this, I don't know, this unique world of exploring and kind of a different combat system where you really kind of had to fight to survive. It changed the formula. And I thought it was neat. You kind of just do whatever you wanted. And I kind of just enjoyed kind of doing it at my own pace. And with the sequel, I'm hoping that it'll be really good. Based on what I've seen from the trailer, I'm wondering if we're gonna get some Twilight Realm brought back in, because I know Breath of the Wild and the official Zelda timeline is the farthest in the future. So I'm hoping maybe it links back up with that. And I want to see how it goes, but I want to see them improve on dungeons. Though I'm really, really hoping we get some more traditional, nice mini Zelda dungeons that the series.
I'm also really excited for Breath of the Wild 2. I will say that touching on all the shortcomings that you're touching on Breath of the Wild really killed it for me. I would give Breath of the Wild like a 7 out of 10 personally. Please don't take that offensively. I know it's one of the most beloved games
we just talked about fighting over kings.
I grew up with Zelda and I love Zelda. And while I respect Nintendo's decision to completely abandon the formula of the series, I wish they would have called Breath of the Wild something else. It would have been so much better for me if it wasn't called Zelda.
That's how I
am excited for part 2.
15, but we're not going to talk
15,
about that.
Nope, same. I agree. Although I feel 15 was a return to form in more ways than 13 was.
All right, we're gonna.
We were just talking about peace. No, I agree. I agree. We'll talk about it on Twitter eventually.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think Breath of the Wild 2 is one of my most anticipated titles. But
here's my. Sorry.
On the Nintendo side, there's not much else, and that
there's not, because we don't know anything. They're so good at keeping up breath. We're gonna get the last three. We're gonna get the last 3 Smash Bros. Fighters. We know that, and that'll be the fun speculation. And I mean, we're already riding on a Sephiroth high from it right now.
So
nobody saw it coming. No one could have saw Sephiroth coming. Let's be honest.
No. So Cthulhu predicts that there's gonna be like a hero for Tales of, and it's gonna just be the Tales of hero with different costumes.
It's a possibility.
Why won't they make a Final Fantasy Heroes?
Because Square Enix is stingy.
But they made Dragon Quest Heroes.
But they're stingy.
I would play. I don't even like Dynasty Warrior style games, and if it was a Final Fantasy themed Dynasty Warrior styles game, I would get the platinum in every language.
I said that about Funko Pops. I'm like, the minute that they start making Final Fantasy Funko Pops is the minute that I start collecting them.
Yeah.
All right, so here's another theory. Obviously, since we were on the topic of Zelda, Nintendo did a Mario collection for Mario's 35th, and now we have Zelda's 35th coming up. Do you think Nintendo announces any other Zelda potential predictions that they'll do for the 35th, or do you think they're going to shaft Zelda because Mario's their staple?
I personally think that it's more likely to be the latter. I don't think that, as much as I would love to see, because I would buy it immediately, I would love to see Ocarina of Time on Switch. I would really love to see a like Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake style for Link to the Past, which is personally my
Link to
favorite
the
Zelda
Past
of all
is my
time.
favorite Zelda too.
I gotta work on
I
that one.
would
I want
kill
Oracle
for
of
that
Seasons
shit.
and
I would pay
Ages, though.
$60 immediately for that. Just that game.
I
Just
would
that.
pay
I
$60
love
$60 for
Link's
Oracle of
Awakening.
Seasons and Ages. I need to finish. I have A Link to the Past on my Super Nintendo Classic, and I plan on finally playing it at some point. But I want a Link's Awakening style for Oracle of Seasons and Ages, which were my favorite.
Yeah.
handheld
Yeah.
Those were good. That was
Just
Capcom,
any of
by the way.
those, but I don't know. Nintendo seems, like I said earlier, Nintendo seems to be forging their own path at this point. They realized pretty early on that they are, as silly as this sounds, they're the little guy in gaming now, with Google and Microsoft and Sony being like multi-billion-dollar diversified portfolio companies that do everything from selling operating systems to selling insurance. So Nintendo being only gaming, well, primarily gaming, I think that they've really started to forge their own path. So I think at this point, Nintendo is unpredictable.
I agree.
Fair enough. So
wholeheartedly.
it could be
I
anything.
don't know
And
what
I'm-
they're doing
And
at
I'm
any
always
time.
worried about Zelda compared to Mario because I know Mario is their staple. You know, they'll do anything for Mario because that was what launched them into the
Oh,
market.
yeah.
But what's funny to me is I think the Zelda games overall are better. Mario games are great. Like I won't knock any Mario games, but I always liked Zelda games more because Zelda games were like the more mature. They were a little more deep.
Mario never felt like I was going on an adventure. It felt like I was playing stages, which is fine.
Yeah.
I am not in any way saying a negative thing. Whereas when I picked up Zelda for the first time in gaming, I felt like I'm on this grand adventure and I have no idea where it's going to take me. And there's all these crazy, like, changing worlds and changing time and changing space. And there were all these cool ideas. And so I've always definitely loved Zelda way more than Mario. But
Same here.
look at Nintendo's lineup, including everything: Smash, Mario Kart. What would Nintendo be without Mario?
It's true, and I get it. That's their bread and butter, and I will never knock
Yeah,
them for
totally.
doing it. I would hope that with Zelda being their second biggest franchise, though, they would still give a justifiable celebration to a franchise that people beloved, and
Yep.
Wild has sold more than Mario.
Well,
Odyssey.
and I think Nintendo is starting to experience what they experienced with the Wii. At this point, the console that they're working on is comparatively so underpowered that third-party developers are not going to be porting games over to it anymore. So Nintendo, once we switch over to full PS5, Xbox Series X, Stadia, PC development, it will be theoretically impossible. Like Cyberpunk will never ever work on Switch. No matter what they do, it'll never work. They got The Witcher to work, but The Witcher was designed 8 years ago for PS3, Xbox, Xbox 360, PS4, and Xbox One, and then they dropped the Xbox 360 and PS3 to focus on just then current gen development. So games like Cyberpunk are so future forward at this point, and I'm talking like 10 years ahead in graphical capability to what the Switch has out. I fear that over the next few years, until this theoretical new Switch releases, which I don't personally really think is real. I think it's all just Nintendo dabbling in ideas, just like Sony. All of them put forward these huge amounts of money for patents because they're researching and developing different ideas. Those patents are never actually going to see the light of day. Like the PlayStation controller that breaks in half and is motion controlled on each side and you can punch people with it. That was for PS3. That is never going to come out. And so I think that Nintendo's back to a point where games that are on Switch are going to be developed exclusively for Switch, and it's going to make them have to, and Nintendo has no problem with this, they'll be perfectly fine. They'll have to rely more, once again, on their first-party studios and IPs, which never fail them. I mean, they sell tens of millions of units compared to other... Yeah, they're fine. I'm not saying their idea of their business model is flawless. They are smart.
They are very smart.
But I think that we've reached a point in the Switch where Nintendo is going to have to start going back, and they know this, and they're already doing it, and touching on that nostalgia and using IPs that are tried and true again. Yeah, that's what I like. Those types of things are possible, but at this point, and I think a lot of people would buy that, that's all they have to rely on as far as third party goes now.
Yeah.
Either games developed exclusively for Switch or developed last generation to be ported to Switch, which is attractive because it's portable and it makes perfect sense.
Everybody wants to play a game while they take a dump, okay? It's very important.
Yeah. I think that Nintendo will start to and again, I said I think they're unpredictable right now, but I think that they're going to start really falling back more on Zelda, especially with seeing how Hyrule Warriors, no, I'm sorry, Age of Calamity just did. Games like that and Breath of the Wild and Breath of the Wild 2 have immense amounts of hype behind them, and even simple remakes like Link's Awakening sell in the millions, in the probably tens of millions. So I do think that we'll start to see a lot more Zelda, Brad. I do. I think that they're going to start to fall back on that more. Not because people are tired of Mario or ever will be, but because Nintendo is like, okay, we're back in the Wii period where games that are coming out are either just made for our console or we make them. Whereas games like, I don't know, what's a good example of a next gen game? I don't know. Just anything like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That game is not very likely to ever come out on Switch. And Nintendo probably knows that. So any theoretical Assassin's Creeds have to be developed for the Switch.
Right. Makes sense. And all right, I guess I'm going to conclude with we'll conclude with one more game we didn't cover. It's going to be a big 2021 release, and we'll talk about it. Then we'll go ahead and close. Resident Evil 8 is supposed to be, and that's a big one.
Hear of that.
I played through the entire series in 28 days. In the fall, every game that was available.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
wow.
10 games, 28 days. I went through 0 through 7 plus Revelations. And
wow.
I'm really excited for 8 now. 8 will be the first game I probably buy at launch, Resident Evil wise. And I know a lot of people are excited about it. I don't know how many people have you played it. And I know you're not big into Resident Evil.
No, I don't do horror games. I'm a pussy. So.
And have you played them?
I have been obsessed with Resident Evil since the original release.
Perfect. All right. So
you guys can fanboy over that.
Yeah, I'm really excited. 7. I thought 7 when I played it got me really excited for 8 because 7 was shit your pants scary. Like,
was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can play it in VR and shit your pants even harder.
You can play it in VR?
Yeah, I couldn't play it in VR because when the family catches up to you, if they find you, they pick you up and shake you and throw you, and I immediately was nauseous.
Yeah.
So there was this extra layer of fear, like, oh my god, if I get caught, I'm gonna puke. Like, literally, in real life, I'm gonna get sick. So I didn't play all of Resident Evil 7 in VR, but I did play, like, the first several hours of it in VR. I don't know.
Played a little of 5. I mean...
That's another game that you've changed the entire formula, and I get why you did it, but I'm so tired of first-person shooters and their floating camera feeling. There's no weight or motion to the character at all. Which I was really impressed by Cyberpunk feeling like I was playing a third-person shooter in first-person view, despite all of its other issues. Resident Evil felt like a floating camera to me, so I wish 8 was not in first-person. I know it's been done a million times before, but I miss the old style. Even the over-the-shoulder is better. I am excited for 8, but this is so stupid. I have this irrational fear of werewolves. I am terrified of werewolves. I think I watched American Werewolf in London when I was like 4. And when there's this part where he changes, and that didn't really scare me, but he like jumps out the window, and he was horrifying the people in the street. And for some reason, it just stuck with me. And I've always been afraid of wolves, so I'm probably not going to be able to get through Resident Evil 8. The second somebody turns into a friggin' werewolf, I'm shutting the game off.
So you've got the real fear is going to be there. Are you excited for it though? Are you planning on picking it up?
Yeah, I'm going to buy it. I'll play it. I'll bitch about it all over Twitter, and I'll beat it. I'll play it and I'll beat it and I'll
We'll
love
probably
it.
have differing opinions on it.
Yeah.
I'll have to have all the lights on. I'll have to have like background music playing.
I was
Okay.
I had anxiety I'll tell you how scary Resident Evil 7 is. I knew that Resident Evil 7 was going to be scary. As soon as I stepped foot into the guest house, I was already
Yep,
angry.
instantly.
Like, something is going to fuck me up.
Yep.
And
It was terrifying.
It is. They keep the anxiety rolling too because you never know.
Absolutely.
See, I can't do
And
that.
that's how they scare you is it's not even just like you see a bunch of creepy ass shit or jump scares. It's they keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
Like a thriller.
It's a
And
true
that I
it's
appreciated.
a true horror
One huge difference between the Resident Evil series and the Silent Hill series always was that Silent Hill was about building an atmosphere of terror at all times. You weren't afraid of what was going to jump out at you. You were afraid because you had to be in this situation. It was just a terrifying situation, whereas Resident Evil was always more about, I'm going to scare you by throwing something around the corner. So you were still on this tense edge of your seat for both games, but one was more because you were expecting dogs to jump through a window and make you jump for a brief moment, whereas Silent Hill was always more of, I'm going to build this atmosphere of displeasure and unease, and I feel like 7 did a good job of that. 7 really went more away from the jump scares, which still existed and will always exist. They have to in Resident Evil.
It's true.
But there was a lot more of an atmosphere of fear and terror built the entire time.
Yeah, and that's why.
Yeah.
And you might disagree. I gave it, and I don't give this out often, but I did actually give 7 and 10 out of 10 as a horror game because to me, as a horror game, it gave pure terror.
Absolutely, I
have
agree
a rating
100%.
system, and I was like, it has to be. It is a horror masterpiece in its
Yeah,
own right.
absolutely.
And
despite it taking a step away from the traditional Resident Evil formula, the formula that they used worked. Yep. They executed it extremely well. The only complaint that I will give about 8 is that little Jilly Valentine's is not getting the love that she deserves in that franchise.
I know.
She is like one of the most beloved characters of all time in any franchises, and she's seriously gotten 2 games.
I know, it's frustrating. She's been in Resident Evil, and she's been in Resident Evil 5 for a little bit, and then she was in
as a side cameo.
Yeah,
and then 3 was her game. Nemesis was her game.
Oh yeah,
Granted, Nemesis was like a 2-hour experience, the original one. I loved it to death. I will never dog on Nemesis. It's one of my favorite games ever.
I played the remake. I thought it was fun.
Love the remake. Don't care that they changed it. Don't care that they took places out. It was its own game. It was over the shoulder. It was a totally reimagined idea of Nemesis, which I loved. That wasn't a new game for her. And like when I saw Chris Redfield come out, I'm like, God damn it. Like, this is the 700th game this man has been in.
And his 700th appearance, a facial appearance.
Yeah. I know. The man's face changes more than his body. I don't know what he's doing in the gym.
I don't know.
He does his bench presses with his, eyebrows.
Exactly. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up today. So, Matt, I really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, Matt.
Yes, thank you. I had so much fun.
And if you are not following Matt on Twitter already, be sure to follow Matt. Just let everyone know what your handle is again.
Yes, it's at Matthew Dayton, but there's no E. So it's MATTHWDAYTON.
All right. And Matt, like I said, he's a great guy to follow. He covers a lot of stuff. If you like PlayStation, Tomb Raider, or just people actually expressing their great opinions, go ahead and follow him. He interacts with everybody. I mean, he's seriously such a friendly guy. You won't meet a guy that...
Oh, yeah, no, he's really nice. And also, make sure you follow our Brad and Chi Twittercast. I think that's the app for it. I just made it, with the last episode that we posted. So it's
okay.
If not, just follow Brad at
the __ carnival, and make sure to follow Chi at
Chitose Official, CHITOSEOFFICIA.
All right.
Awesome.
And all right, remember, that's all the time we have for today. And remember, let's make an effort to be more positive and make our gaming community in the world a better place. We'll see you next time.
Yes, we can have differing opinions without hating each other.
All right, bye guys.